Well, you'd never know it because it's a beautiful sunny day, but there's a cyclone coming.
This was the forecast for the days following January 21st. For a low pressure system in the Coral Sea, innocuously named 05U, to develop into a tropical cyclone, eventually called Kirrily. Kirrily was supposedly barreling towards Airlie Beach and our home cruising grounds of the Whitsundays.
So we're about to prep. This is Brilliant 2, a Kelly Peterson 44 built in 1978. This is us, the Smallwoods. And this is the story of our long overdue boat refit.
Wait, this is the story of a mid-refit brush with a cyclone. Welcome along for the ride.
Alright, well, things have progressed somewhat and we're now in a cyclone warning phase. The Bureau of Meteorology has issued an official warning. We have got a system, it's still a tropical low at this stage, it hasn't been named. It's forecast across the coast, most likely between Innispell and Airlie Beach during Thursday. From Friday, the system is forecast to move inland and further south. Well, we're concerned with the first bit at the moment. Anyway, we got the first couple of sails off yesterday, so the jib came down and we got the staysail off the boat. So today's mission, or this morning's mission, is going to be to get rid of the dinghy, get it off the boat. We borrowed a trailer from our friend Nick. Thank you, Nick.
Then we're just going to take it round to the ramp and we'll put that to bed at home.
Well, of course, every challenge is also an opportunity, and one of the opportunities here has been to get the sails down, have a look at them. We found a tiny bit of chafe, and so we're going to drop them off to our favourite sail makers, Almond Sails Whitsundays, and get them fixed.
Well, we're not using them while they're not on the boat.
Exactly. Every cloud has a silver lining.
Let's go.
Oh, we've got another one.
Another one.
It's day 3 for us of our cyclone watch preparation sort of phase. We got the sails down on Sunday, we got the dinghy home on Monday, and today we were going to be taking this Dodger and Bimini setup off, But right now we're just doing more watching and waiting because the system hasn't actually formed yet. It's taking its time. We're following a few different sources for weather forecasting. So we've got the usual Bureau of Meteorology, which is our national weather forecaster. They're predicting a Category 3 crossing around about Townsville at the moment. The level of intensity does seem to have decreased. Windy is showing a little bit less horrible, deep purple looking stuff around here. It's very much a sort of suck it and see.
Well, Predict Wind have about 6 different models, and you usually look at 4 of those, which tend to be pretty much in agreement. The other one is the US Navy site, and they're based in Hawaii but do the whole world, and they're usually pretty accurate. They have given a track map, but it's still just a low pressure system. It hasn't formed
at the moment.
cyclone at the moment. The US Navy site is saying some things that will develop the cyclone, like nice warm sea surface temperature, but there's also some dry air being sucked in, and there's also a fair bit of wind shear. They're saying there's 20 to 30 knots of wind shear up aloft, and those things are probably holding the cyclone back from developing.
There's various weather Facebook pages, so you've got things like Higgins Storm Chasers, and they used to be called Oz Cyclone Chasers, now I think they're Weather IQ. They love a good disaster, those ones, but they're useful to look at nonetheless. Locally we've got L&K Severe Weather in Mackay, they're quite good, and also right here in the Whitsundays we've got Whitsundays Cyclones as a Facebook page. They've been going into some quite detailed explanations of what's going on at the moment, which people have been finding very helpful. We've certainly been looking at all of these. There's the apps, of course, so there's the Bureau of Meteorology's app, which of course will follow the same line as the official forecast and cyclone track map and all that sort of thing. There's Windy, there's Willy Weather. We're looking at all of them, and yeah, it's still a bit of a watch and wait. Now, the reason why we are holding off on taking the Dodger down today, the main reason is that there could be chance of a bit less wind but perhaps a bit more rain, and if that's going to be the case, we'd rather try and keep this area of the boat dry. The sails had to come down when they did because the wind is piping up already.
Yeah, it's gusting now.
It's starting to gust, and you just don't want to be messing around with flogging sails in pretty much anything more than we had to do.
Well, our Genoa is 130% Genoa, and it was cracking around a bit when we did it on Sunday with 15 knots of wind, and now it's gusting 25, I'd say 30, and you don't want to, that's too dangerous. So.
Yeah, it's only going to build from here no matter what. Whereas the Dodger, there's not a lot of fabric that can just take off. We can manage it, so we can wait a little bit and to just have some more surveillance on the situation and then make the call. So for now, what we're going to do is check all our lines, put an extra fender on, just generally check that everything's squared away on deck, and we'll take you with us.
I just filled our water tanks up just on the last cyclone. The mains water actually went off for about 3 days, and the only water we had was what was on the boat. We had no water at home, so we're filling them up just in case.
When Julian says the last cyclone, the one he's referring to is Cyclone Debbie, which is the one that crossed us in 2017 and actually was a direct hit for Airlie Beach. It was a Category 4, very high Category 4, so I mean it felt like a Category 5 really. It was probably pretty much the worst cyclone here in living memory. The community was without power and water for quite some time afterwards. We were in a lot more fortunate position with the boat, obviously being able to generate our own power with solar. I don't think we had a water maker at the time though, I can't remember. Did we have a water maker at the time? No, so water was an issue.
That's it. That's our primary one, and that's got Springer in it anyway, and then you leave the other one just a bit looser so it doesn't get any wear on it when with the normal moving about of the boat. And then if one of them does chafe right the way through, you've got a completely intact secondary one. We put an extra Springer on here. I just put an old shackle on the spare chain plate. These plenty strong enough, stronger than the cleat, and we just tied it off then. Can't have too many ropes.
Right, happy with all of that then?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
And heard it here first. The wind is just starting to pipe up a little bit, only mid-20s, something like that, 20, 25 knots. The system still hasn't formed. The latest advice from the Bureau of Meteorology is that it's going to be a cyclone by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, and that the strength at the coastal crossing has now been downgraded to a category 2 rather than a cat 3, which is good, and that it's going to cross at Townsville. All the models are pretty much lining up for that. So we're to the south of that. It's always a bit gnarly on the south of a cyclone here. So we're still carrying on with preparations. The Dodger is still a wait and see, because it's really all about how strong the wind gets. The stronger the wind is, the more we need to take it down. The more rain is an issue, the more we need to leave it up. So we're just doing a bit of a watch and wait on that for the moment still. We've still got time to make that call. For now though, what we're doing is adding some anti-chafe protection to all our lines. And I'll just show you what's going on there.
I've just bought some lay flat fire hose. It's quite durable stuff. Here's the fire hose. Just cut a bit off, slid it so we can just fit it around the line. Just sort of secure it in place with a couple of cable ties. And that'll do.
It's a pretty tight fit, isn't it?
I know, the fairlead, horse pipes, whatever you call them, are so small on these boats.
And the ropes are so thick
and
as well.
And the ropes are 1-inch ropes, but they do fit. There we go. We've got 2 on each side. So we've got backups.
Backups for the backups.
If the hose wears through, then we've got 2 lines and should be right. Anyway, it's not a very strong cyclone, so we'll probably actually be able to come down, you know, during the event and just keep an eye on things. We'll see.
Doing a final bit of shopping, and we'll just go around to the toilet roll aisle and show you what happens when there's a cyclone coming. Come with us. Oh my goodness, they must have actually restocked, because this was completely empty the other day.
Supermarket shelves stripped bare, a telltale sign disaster is about to strike.
We got to say, you need to be prepared. Now, that doesn't mean to say you've got to go out and deplete Coles and Woolies of all their toilet paper.
Aussie advertising at its best. Who gives a crap?
Well, we officially have a cyclone. Tropical Cyclone Kirrily was finally declared in the Coral Sea at about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It took a long time to form. And this is the situation at about 7 o'clock in the morning. So she's on her way towards the coast. We're hunkered down in Cannon Vale on the land, and the boat is tucked up in the marina at Portobello, which is closed. The harbour master closed all movement around the waterways of the Whitsundays at about 7 o'clock last night. And as you can see, there's not an awful lot of wind here yet, although we are sheltered by a big hill. But the rain has started. So this is how it begins. It's 1:30 in the afternoon and we can see the horizon again. But we're going to go check on the boat, see how things are going down there, but there hasn't really been much to report. Look at that.
You get stronger winds in a thunderstorm.
Well, we have had stronger winds in a thunderstorm, but still, it's not over yet. It's just that we've dodged a bullet here.
We're just coming down to the boat.
It's 1:45, so it still hasn't made landfall. Anytime between about, I think, 7 and 10 p.m. tonight is supposed to be landfall. But the rain seems to have just suddenly eased, and we've got a bit of, well, you can see the horizon now. It's not raining, the wind's dropped, and even turned around. We're getting a bit from the north now, so it could be that it's past us, more or less.
It's making landfall further north, so we're on the southern side of it now.
Still the odd gust, so
Now
it's
that-
quite over yet, but almost, probably, for us anyway. I mean, obviously Townsville's still got it to come, but we've been feeling the effects of it since the middle of the night, whereas they're only just sort of starting to really get it, I think.
And now the wind's coming from the southeast again, so it's pretty fluky. Just a moment ago it was coming from the northeast.
I'll just have a quick look at the radar. Oh, by the way, the Mackay radar went out this morning. Timing. We're about there. It's there. Yeah, it's all spinning. So we're sort of in the eye. But the eye is a very large eye. See, we're there, down there. And yeah, it's all getting, this is all the stuff that's getting sucked in, the dry. It's meant to keep going that way. If it comes any more southerly, obviously that's a problem. But look, so far so good. Well, this is Chute Harbour, which is a bit windier.
This has been the scene of serious devastation a couple of times since we've lived here. First was Cyclone Ly, the next was Debbie, and there's a lot of damage in this bay. And it looks like everyone's, well, there's not so many boats here now, but it looks like there's no damage.
There's some cyclone watchers over here. I'll just go and have a chat with them. And what do you guys think of the cyclone?
The storm chasers. Standing here waiting to get struck by lightning. No, not really. Well, it's a bit windier here than it was at Portobello. Always cops it a bit more here.
This bay faces southeast. We're looking towards the southeast, so it's always windy here. If it's windy anywhere, it's in here.
There's still boats that are hanging on though. They're all just bobbing up and down on their moorings.
Actually, at the moment, it's no stronger than, I mean, we see stronger southeasterly trade winds than this. It's blowing about 20, 25, I suppose.
Well, it's 7:15 at night. It's probably about T-2 and counting. So we've got maybe another 2 to 3 hours to the crossing. Well north of us now, but look at the waves we're getting. Look, there's some surf coming in here, and just for context, we don't get surf.
Tropical Cyclone Kirrily eventually crossed the coast at about 10 p.m, but for the finer details, I'll let the Bureau explain.
As we continue to watch Kirrily approach the coast, we will see that it went from a Category 3 back to a Category 2 as it weakened ever so slightly before reaching landfall. In fact, let's zoom in and we can see the crossing point here. It's about halfway between Townsville and Ingham on the Queensland coast, and it did reach the coastline at about 10 p.m. on Thursday evening as a Category 2 tropical cyclone.
Although the footage we captured during the day shows very minor impacts, not everyone escaped unscathed. Even here on the Whitsunday mainland, there was a casualty or two. And elsewhere, more widespread damage was reported.
These are some of the strongest gusts that were picked up on Bureau instruments on Thursday. 143 kilometres out over Flinders Reef to the northeast. The Whitsunday Islands were 115 km/h wind gusts. In Townsville, 93 was the strongest gust we picked up in the middle of the city, but a short ways east it was 107 km/h, and this wind was certainly enough to cause a bit of damage. Widespread impact to trees, branches and power lines have left about 50,000 without power this morning. There was some damage reported on property and infrastructure, but at the moment most reports are just of minor damage, so a little bit of good news there.
In other good news, that boat you saw aground on Cannonvale Beach, well, That was craned off on the high tide the next morning. But unfortunately, not all cyclones have this sort of happy ending, and Kirrily was by no means our first rodeo. In fact, since basing ourselves in the Whitsundays in 2009, we've been through no less than 4 direct hits and felt the impacts of a further 3 cyclones. There was severe tropical cyclone Ly, which crossed the coast at Airlie Beach as a Category 3 on March 21st, 2010. Then Cyclone Anthony made landfall at Bowen as a Category 2 on January 30th, 2011, as the smaller sibling to the much larger and more ferocious Cyclone Yassi, which devastated coastal communities around Mission Beach to our north when it crossed as a Category 5 system on February 3rd that same year. After a couple of years' respite, Cyclone Dylan arrived here at Dingo Beach on January 31st in 2014, followed for us by the mother of all storms, Cyclone Debbie, which passed directly overhead on March 28th and 29th in 2017, packing just as much of a punch in her aftermath as she did during the actual Category 4 crossing. So how did they all compare? Well, in Ly, we were full-time liveaboards with 2 cats and a brand new baby in tow.
Cats are stressed out. Carlos has already been to the vet with a urinary tract infection. Yeah, the vet said it was stress that causes it, so he knows what's coming. He knows, you know.
Worried. Are you, darling? Mummy promised you she'd look after you.
Shaz's just lashing off a few last minute items. We've taken everything wreckable off the boat. The fridge is lashed in, the air conditioner's lashed in, we've got the storm boards in, we've taken the whole Dodger off. I think it'd withstand 70 knots, but I don't think it'd withstand 100 knots. And
It's not going to be 100 knots today.
it's not going to be 100 knots, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
If it's a 3, it might be. And hatch is lashed down, everything's lashed down. Boat's well tied off, electricity's cut off, and there she is, brilliant too, good luck. Here's our stuff for one night on land.
No, I know, but it's the cat's a baby.
There's a baby in the trolley.
No, the baby's here.
Where's the baby?
Baby's here, look.
Where is he?
Look, he's in here.
Let's have a look. Oh look, he's sleeping. Isn't he beautiful?
He's sleeping through his first
Isn't
cyclone.
he beautiful?
Oh.
It's the morning after Cyclone Ly struck Airlie Beach.
At 1:30 in the morning, came in as a Category 3. Right, I'm just sitting in the back here feeding, by the way.
Shaz is in the restaurant in the back. So it came in here, it actually went north a little bit, swerved around Pioneer Rocks and came straight into Airlie Beach. And we're just looking out to one of the anchorages, and there's very few boats out there hanging on, and there's a few boats up on the shore.
Anyway, apparently we've heard via the telephone that Brilliant 2 is okay, so we're just on our way back to go and survey the scene.
There's that's the sailing club over there, and someone's parked his boat in the mangroves, probably a good place to be. There's another boat in grief on the other side there. I can see his mast waving around, he must be on the shore. Well, Shoot Harbour's copped it, big time. Where? Now we know what a cyclone does.
But as it turned out, Cyclone Ly was just a dress rehearsal for the main event, with Cyclone Debbie taking the cake as the most powerful tropical revolving storm we've ever experienced to date. A peak wind gust of 263 kilometres an hour recorded on Hamilton Island during Debbie's approach remains the highest gust recorded in Queensland. And it wasn't just the cyclone's intensity that was unleashed. As Debbie's eye reached the coast, she slowed down to just 7 kilometres an hour, exposing Airlie Beach, the Whitsunday Islands and surrounding areas to the very destructive winds at the cyclone's core for many hours. Even after weakening below tropical cyclone strength, the remnant low pressure system continued to produce damaging wind gusts of over 130 kilometres an hour and rainfall totals of up to 600 millimetres, leaving an overall damage bill topping $1 billion.
We're about 12 hours into this cyclone and haven't seen too much really strong wind until now. It's really starting to pick up. The eye's about, we think about 15 miles away from us, and at some point the wind's going to change direction dramatically. We probably won't be able to stand outside here anymore. There's some pretty strong gusts coming in now. Ooh. I think that's the biggest one yet. We're seeing all the fabric awnings and sunshades just ripping off of the car park down there, and the Shell service station is losing its sign and losing all its cladding. There's trees cracking. The TV aerial's fallen down over there. Whoa, it's a big one. It's really looking quite dangerous.
Imagine what Category 5's like. This is starting to get a bit exciting now. There's been some massive gusts come through. There's lots of debris, bits of roof we've seen flying through the air, and bits of palm tree just spiralling upwards. There's trees falling down, and I think there's another gust just about to come in, but the air's got water in it. This is incredible. Shaking with adrenaline. I think we're in the eye now. It's still, it's quite eerie, quite weird. There's still little gusts coming through, but it's nothing like it was.
So now it's a few hours later, 20 past 2. The eye's gone over, and now we're getting the other side of the cyclone, which is still a category 4, even though it's gone ashore already. And we've just watched 2 boats that have been sitting out there all night come in on the breaking waves, which are about 6-foot breaking waves, and they're both on the beach now. And there's been a bit of carnage at the marina, but we'll have a look at that later.
While we could have ended this video on a high, just showing what little damage was sustained in last week's Cyclone Kirrily, there's a good reason we've included the bigger picture. In a word, complacency. Yes, we might have got off lightly weather-wise this time, but everyone, our community, the boating community, our marinas, our council, everyone was well prepared. Although the Whitsundays is a fairly transient place, a lot of people who are here now were here in Debbie, and that memory has served us well, if in no other way than to make sure we take these things seriously when we need to. The concern now is that those of us who are new to the tropics, and there's been quite an influx since COVID, will perhaps now underestimate the power of nature because they haven't seen what a cyclone can do. So I think if there's one takeaway message, it's that when it comes to cyclones, and for mariners particularly, it's always better to prepare for the worst but hope for the best. I know that's what we've done in the past and what we'll continue to do.